right, so today we're going to talk about mean value theorem. And mean value theorem is all about something, it should just make sense. Let me give you an example. If you are driving from here to Syracuse, and I said that your average speed was 55, obviously, and we've talked about this before, it doesn't mean that your speed the entire time was 55, but would you agree that at some point in that trip, you were traveling 55 miles an hour? Let me say that again. So you're taking a trip, your average speed is 55. It means to you that at some point, not every moment of the trip, but at some point you probably were traveling at 55 miles. In fact, you definitely were. That is in essence what the mean value theorem is. Here it is in mathematical jargon, and that's really what our goal is today, is to learn the mean value theorem. So here it is. There is a point between a given interval such that the slope of the tangent line is parallel to the slope of the secant line over the same interval. Now let me show you what that means pictorially. If I have some graph, okay, what I'm saying is that if I'm to tell you, okay, the slope between this point and this point, that there is a value between -2 and +2, because that's the interval to which we're looking at here. There is a point in this space that has a tangent line that's parallel to it. And if I was to look at this and try and match that as best I can, that I would basically say that this point, its tangent line has the same slope. In other words, the speed at that instant, or the slope at that instant, is the same over that interval as it is at that instant. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Now let's look at it again in a different way. So again, this is what it looks like pictorially. You have an interval from A to B where C falls. In other words, the slope at C is the same as the slope between A and B. And so there's another little thing. Now what does that mean symbolically? What that basically means is you would find this section here to the right. This is saying the slope of the secant line. And so your first job would be to figure out what exactly is that slope there between A and B. And then, okay, we're saying that the derivative, or the slope of the tangent, is the same. And I want to know what point that is. Now that value C should fall between A and B, for the same reason that we were talking about our little trip. All right, so to verify the mean value theorem for y equals x squared over the interval, let's do some of these examples over 1 to 5. Let me show you what you have to do. So the first step in solving this is find the slope of the secant line. I'm just going to write secant line. And so what that says to you is you're going to do f of, in this case, 5 minus f of 1 over 5 minus 1. So you plug 5 in, you plug 1 in, you have 24 over 4, and you get 6. Step 2. Step 2 is we're going to find the derivative. And of course, what's f prime of x? Excellent. 2x. Step number 3. Set them equal. So I'm going to take 2x and set that equal to 6 and say, when does that happen? And so we solve, we get x equals 3. And then to verify, we say, is that between that interval? Is it between 1 to 5? It is. There. We verified it. We're done. Check. Let's try another one. Verify the mean value for y equals x cubed over the interval 0 to 2. So first step, secant line. F of 2 minus f of 0 over 2 minus 0. F of 2? Great. F of 0? Easy enough. And we get 4. What's the second step? Does anybody remember? Find that derivative. And so we have 3x squared. Third and final step, set them equal. So 3x squared divided by, equals 4. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. I get x squared equals 4/3. X equals plus or minus the square root of 4 over 3. And the question, of course, is that between 0 to 2? Well, that would basically say we would only want the positive one. We would not want the negative one. That's the one that verifies it. And there you have it. Verify again. So why don't you go ahead and pause this video, and I'd like you to try this one on your own. Okay, and so there's the answer that you should get. Hopefully you did in fact pause that video and check that out, but there you go for the answer. So at this point, that's the mean value theorem. We're going to be using this a lot throughout the year. I would hope that you'd take the time to really look over these examples and understand those three major steps. Find the slope of the secant line, find the derivative, and set them equal to each other. Tomorrow in class, we'll be working a lot on this and practicing quite a bit. So see you tomorrow.